Hi, my name is Jessica, and today I'm going to give y'all a little info about who I am, where I came from, and what makes me me. Because I'm one of a kind, there ain't nobody else like me. Tell you that. Okay. When you meet somebody new, generally you meet this person and you say hi and introduce yourselves, and in the back of your mind, unless you're at like a doctor's conference or something, they say, oh, I'm a doctor at so-and-so, or I'm a doctor here, or I'm a nurse, or I'm a kindergartner teacher. They give you a little bit of information. But most of the time in the back of our mind we wonder, where does this person come from? Where are they born? What makes them them? So that I can have a better friendship with them, maybe a better relationship. At least that's where my mind goes. I was blessed to be, well, in this picture, I'll show it to you here in a second. I was blessed to be able to be in a family that had 4 generations of women that made a very big impact on my life. My Bobo, my great-grandmother, she was incredibly smart and talented and just a fun person all the way around to be around. My grandmother, my Mimi, she was an incredible matriarch for my entire family. It didn't matter where she was or where she went, everybody was just drawn to her. That's just the person that she was. My mother, she was a creature of never being in the same spot twice. She lived by the seat of her pants. Very oftentimes, she was considered the crazy one at any function she was at. She was the life of the party, but she lived by her faith. Everything she did was for her faith in God. And I grew up going to many different churches. My grandfather on my dad's side was Church God of Prophecy preacher, and while I was in church, I didn't have a good relationship with God because I didn't know what I was learning, because I got moved around so many times. Because Church God of Prophecy, they move around a lot at churches. So here recently I've started going back to church, and I'm hoping to really build my relationship with God so that I can have a better grip on a lot of things like my mental health and just having a better relationship with those around me, because I'm not just thinking about myself. My mother and my dad wanted children, and my mom and dad tried for 3 years to have a baby. It just didn't happen. They just couldn't. And then they finally did. And my mother lost it, and the doctor said, don't get pregnant right now. It's not a good time. The baby won't stick. Just don't get pregnant right now. Well, lo and behold, here I came, and I stuck like glue. And I told my mother all the time I was an accident was wanted, and she would get so mad and tell me, you were not an accident, you were very much wanted. And unfortunately, I lost my mother in 2016, and it's a role that cannot be filled. But I've learned to live without her, and she lives on inside of me, in my heart, every day. And I wish that those that are special to me now could have met her, because she would have made a huge impact on their life, like she did mine. My mother taught me that you have to give from your heart and not expect anything in return, because that's the only way to really live life, is just to give from your heart. And if you get burned, that's their loss. You move on and you just go on about your day. Here you can see a picture of me with my grandpa and my Uncle Steve, and then I was the cutest little toddler. That's it, I swear. There's my parents. They got married in 1982. They loved each other like no other. Unfortunately, they got divorced when I was 8 years old, and my mother never stopped loving my dad. She may have gotten remarried, but she never stopped loving my dad. And that changed the course of my life. My mom loved me and my brother with an everlasting love. Like, you could just tell when she looked at me and my brother that we were her life. We were her sole reason for her being. And there wasn't anything I couldn't have asked for my mom, and she would have given it up in a heartbeat. She made my life, she made me and my brother's life so much better. Our childhood was more than a childhood. It was amazing. Just FFA and BMX. And then there's my dad, which I look just like him. I don't know if you can tell, but I do. And then there's my mom, being the goof that she was. In 2010, my mom had remarried and was living in Alma. And my mom had got remarried, and I made some friends here in Ennis, and I had managed to make it into the field of nursing. I had gotten a job as a CNA in the local nursing home, Ennis Care Center, and from the very first day, I loved it. I loved the old people, I loved making their lives better, I loved their families. It made a huge difference in my life. Up until that point, I had only done retail, and then I worked at Sterilite and a restaurant or two, but I didn't have, when I worked at the restaurant, I didn't have to give a damn, and at Sterilite, I just couldn't do it. So when I fell into CNA life, it was everything to me. Everything. Well, then I went on to become a med aide. See, I loved being with my residents. Going into work wasn't just, oh man, I gotta go to work. It's great, I get to go to work, I get to see what I'm gonna get into today. Like I said, my mom showed me how to give love without the expectation of getting anything back. My dad, he worked for Schlumberger and for a couple different oil field companies, and he worked 60, 70, 80 hours a week and wouldn't quit. He knew what he had to do and he did it. It's not unusual for me when I'm working to work 50, 60 hours a week and not complain. Houston is where I was born. Dallas is where I was raised. Ennis is where I found my heart. Ennis is where I found who I want to be. And Ennis is where I met the love of my life, Mark. And hopefully we'll never leave Ennis because it is my home for me. When I started being a CNA, I went into this one resident's room and she was sad. Her husband had passed away and she was just sad generally. And so I'd go in there and I'd do goofy things. I'd, make goofy faces or use voice impersonations. And first time I did that, she told the social worker, I don't want that girl back in my room. I didn't know what was the cause of it, but the social worker came and told me, don't go back in that room. So I went back in there and explained about me being goofy. And after that, I was the only one she wanted in her room. She'd get mad at other CNAs if they went in there because they weren't me. They didn't act like me. They didn't talk like me. They weren't me. I knew that this person made a difference in my life when I moved out to West Texas, and my friend called me and she said, this resident wants to talk to you to tell you goodbye because she knows that she's dying and she wants to tell you goodbye and that she loves you. That is the epitome of why nursing should get into nursing. I hope that this kind of explains who I am and where I've been and what is to come. Thank you. How long was that, Mark?